Welcome, Walk the Line listeners, to episode 35 of the Walk the Line. And I am proud to announce that we are joined by our first guest for the summer, and that is Jimmy Warrick. How's it going, Jimmy?
I'm good, Greg. Thanks for having me back. I don't remember when the last episode I was on, but 35, you're cooking here.
Got too busy with going through the next season. But yeah, Jimmy's been on. This has got to be your fourth, maybe even fifth time. But forward to we'll kind of talk about position up in Illinois. So we'll give him an opportunity to talk about that for a bit. We do have what makes a good coach, and we'll kind of go through what Jimmy and I have experienced or from coaches we've had when we played, kind of what worked, what didn't work, what we saw, our coaching styles today. And then if we have time, after we've dealt with trying to get on this podcast, technological issue, give our playoff picks in case anyone's curious. But just to kind of start us off, Jimmy, sounds like you got a as the hockey director.
Yes, started officially in March. It's been fun. It's been a blast. I had a long 7 years in Lake Forest. I loved it. Was a difficult decision, but getting started and everything's been going well for the spring. So I love Winnetka. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun this spring.
It sounds like you've been on. Can you just about the club? How many teams? High school, kind of what the rundown is for that program, and kind of what your roles and responsibilities are for that.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the hockey director and kind of overseeing the whole program. So this past spring we had 6 mite teams. We had 4 squirt teams, 4 Pee-wee teams, and then we combined with another club that is kind of like our neighboring club. We both heavily feed into New Trier High School. So at the Bantam age, we start seeing some kids that have Bantam eligibility but are in high school and maybe deciding if they're going to play high school or Bantam. And so we combined with them before my time here. But so co-direct that with the Wilmette hockey director. And then we have our learn to skate, our learn to play. We have our minor mites. It's we got a whole lot going on in this club, but it's definitely keeping me busy and keeping me on my toes.
I mean, a little bit different with it's a smaller hockey market, but it's growing. We have Bellevue, Antioch, Centennial, Clarksville. We have a rink in Nolensville. So pretty much out of all those rinks, there's a program, give or take, assigned to each of those rinks. Do you guys just operate out of one rink, or you kind of all over the place?
We're fortunate enough to have our own rink. The Winnetka Park District owns it, but obviously we're the main tenant at their rink. And then we share a rink with that same club, Wilmette, that I was talking about. We share a rink there, so we technically have one full sheet to ourselves in our program, and then we have another sheet of ice that we get to use half of the ice during the season.
Got it. And you may have already said this, so I apologize if you did. But is it all AAA, or is it we use A1? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. It's a AA club. I mean, we have our own house league as well. Arguably one of the bigger house leagues, or at least the amount of teams we have in house, is at our club. So we have all AA playing in the Northern Illinois Hockey League or the Central States Developmental Hockey League, and then we have a couple, and then our mite teams play in the Chicago United Hockey League.
Got it. And so, obviously being hockey director, do you still get to, when I think hockey director, I think, you're kind of, the schedule and, the behind the scenes stuff, but I imagine you're still getting your coaching in. Do you have a team this year?
Yeah, so I'm definitely couldn't take me off the bench. I think that's the fun stuff and why we do what we do. And so I'm fortunate enough. I'll have the two Central State squirt teams. So I'll have the squirt major, which is all second year squirts, and I'll have the squirt minor, which is all first year squirts. And then like you said, doing some of the stuff behind the scenes. Very fortunate. I have a really good um, assistant hockey director. His name's Charlie. Charlie Widmar's, phenomenal. He's amazing what he's doing, and definitely helps make everything kind of go in Winnetka, and has been there for a while. So lucky to, um, have him by my side working on all this, and looking forward to everything.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an exciting opportunity, and obviously the summer months coming up, but then I guess you're getting your first season this fall with. Well, good luck with that, and I'm sure you're excited and ready to go. But since
Hey,
we, but since we were, briefly just talking about coaching there, I think it's a good segue to I think we're going to discuss, and that is, what do we think? And again, this is very subjective. Everybody's different, but what do we think makes a good coach? And there's tons of different ways we can go off of this. Like we're talking before the call, Jimmy, of coach on a high school team, but we obviously had the experience of playing for a bunch of different coaches. You and I played for a coach together, and then we also coach together. So just kind of just I guess get us started off is what do you think one of the main good qualities that a coach needs to have?
I mean, I think absolutely first and foremost, there has to be a passion for the game. Um, what I've seen and just the way that I've gone about my whole career is you can never go into this thinking, I'm just here to make money and then, I'll be a really good coach. I don't think anyone in this industry at all, at least, the good ones, I don't think they're doing it for the money.
Well,
And
you can't do it for the money because you can't make enough money to do it anyway. So they better not be doing it for the money.
I mean, I think it's just the passion, right? I think that just kind of feeds off everything. I think if the kids are seeing their coach is passionate and they want to be there and they love the game and they love teaching the game, I think that just kind of feeds off into the team, and that's where teams, um, kids want to play for coaches that want to be there. And obviously, if you have, I mean, I don't care what level you are, if you have a group of kids that are working hard and if they're outworking the other team, chances are they're probably going to win. Um, as long as it's um, close enough matchup where similar level kids, but I think passion beats all things. Um,
Yeah,
and
and
then
you
obviously
could.
just learning from experiences.
Yeah, and you can, you kids are smart, right? I mean, even mites and squirts, like they know when a coach is just there for to again pick up the paycheck or whatever it may be, and you hear all the time that the team kind of takes on the attitude and the emotions of the coach behind the bench. And if you watch even the NHL, like Rick Tocchet took over Vancouver, and that team immediately got a little meaner, a little nastier, and they take on the identity of their coach. So I agree with you that passion's kind of one of the big things, and being a good coach, but also a coach you want to play for.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, the passion is the number one thing for me, and then the other thing that I'm looking for is kind of the message, like what you said, the message of what the coaches pass along. I mean, at the end of the day, your kids have to believe in you. It doesn't matter if they're mite squirt, pee wee, high school, junior college. Like, I mean, if you don't believe in your coach, you don't believe in what he's saying, or you're not willing to get on board with what he's saying, or the team's not buying in, you're never going to have success. So, I think it's on the coach to have to understand his or her players and kind of read the room a little bit and see like, okay, this individual needs this kind of coaching, and this individual, maybe can be pushed a little bit harder, or this one reacts different to if they're being yelled at, or kind of motivated in a different way. So it's, I think for me, that's something that I honestly enjoy. Like, I enjoy kind of getting to know my players and knowing, okay, how to, what's the best way to get through to them, or what's the best way to kind of motivate them. So I think that's another huge thing, is just having a coach that can understand the different attitudes and mindsets. I mean, God, especially now, right? Like, I mean, I know we probably were going to do a deeper dive into it um, during this, but I mean, coaching now is so different than I'm sure what it was coaching, 10, 15 years ago. And
No
I
kidding.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I would go to the rink, and if my coach said to do something, I was doing everything in my power to do it. And I was so afraid to let my coach down. And like, if he blew the whistle, I wasn't taking an extra shot. I wasn't going. I wasn't going and playing around with pucks. Like, I was sprinting in that line, and I know the rest of my teammates were doing it. All of us. It wasn't a fear of your coach. I think it was just that, this is it's your boss, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a respect thing. You want to
so
you want to be respected by your coach, but you also don't want to be the kid on the team that's, drill busting or not paying attention, and then they, mess it up for everybody. And I think it when we were playing, and it probably was even, well, I know it was worse, for people before us that were playing. You're getting water bottles or puck shot at you, and it's like, if you want to do those things now, and whether you parents know it or not, we want to do those things every now and then, but you can't, just because it's the world's different, and everyone, there's coaches that have been coaching 20, 30 years that's had to adjust to the way the world is, including the NHL. Case in point, Mike Babcock, if anyone wants that story. But yeah, I mean,
well, and I think it's just more so like now what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to get out of players is to just the listening aspect. I think I tell every kid that I come across, or every player that I work with, is like, as long as you listen and you give me 100% attitude and focus, we'll have a good skate. Like, we'll get better, we'll work on stuff, there won't be any issues. It's just when we have to, if it's a blatant issue of just not listening, that's where you start to see, and then it just affects the rest of the group out there, right? Like, it's, it's a tough balance, but it's also coming down to the coach saying, how do I get this player to focus? Like, am I talking too much? Am I not explaining it well enough? It's, at the end of the day, regardless of the individuals, it all comes back to the coach, as we
yeah,
see in the NHL, where they get fired left and right for stuff that probably isn't even in their control.
yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, obviously we spoke about passion and being involved, and wanting to be there and do it for the kids and not the paycheck and that whole thing. But I think a lot of the things we're talking about, kind of another quality that a good coach has is that the ability to communicate. And I know you touched on it with realizing what certain players, maybe their buttons need to be pushed a little differently, where how do they react to getting yelled at, or getting down to their level and talking to them calmly. But as you mentioned, setting that standard up front early of mistakes are going to happen. And for me, and I know you mentioned something similar, all the teams I coach is attitude and effort, right? Like, control what you can control, have a good attitude, work hard. If mistakes are going to happen, hockey is a game of mistakes, but a lot of it is how you react to those mistakes. And being able to communicate that to your players and parents up front, I think is important to make sure everyone's on the same page to start with. And I appreciated that from coaches, whether they were more communicative, rather than kind of keeping you in the dark. And, there's times you'd walk into the rink and the coach wouldn't talk to you for weeks.
Oh God.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of different, qualities that depending on what type of player you are, that you could look for. But, I think we mentioned, the two main ones, having the passion, being able to communicate, and then obviously being able to adapt to the situation, I think is another big one. If your team is skidding and, maybe losing a string of games in a row or having a bad period, is it a time to blow up and, kind of get on your players, or is it a time to, again, back everybody up, say, let's relax and regroup, and, having that clear head to make those decisions and realize you're leading a bunch of kids, and you're setting the example for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's at the end of the day, right? Like
Yeah.
you're trying to teach your players, lessons on the ice, but also off the ice.
Right.
Like at some point, and I'm very fortunate, and I tell everyone I'm extremely fortunate to be able to be in hockey and do what I do every single day, and I love what I do. But it's not the case for a lot of most of the hockey players in our world. So you're teaching these kids lessons so that they can go into their everyday lives when they're done playing. Little things. How do you overcome adversity? When you're not when you're in a tough spot, like how do you battle out of it? Holding yourself accountable, holding teammates accountable. I think that just all circles back to what we're talking about here. And
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well,
No, you got.
well, I was gonna say, from playing, it's, the things I remember most about, my coaches growing up were not, I don't remember the tournaments we won, how our seasons went, but I do remember how my coaches treated me. I mean, obviously it's different as you get older and you're in college or juniors and you kind of remember those seasons a little bit more. But, growing up, it's like, well, I can remember specific situations where, I actually learned a lesson, and whether that's, showing up to practice on time. And if you're not on the ice on time, you're skating laps or something, or, you didn't wear a tie to a game that you're supposed to wear a tie to. It's like, coaches can set that standard and have that impact on, like you said, players, not only on the ice, but off the ice, and, putting, I don't know, it's definitely not saying it's better than what's going on at home, but you are asking a kid to listen to you and act the way you want them to act for the hour and a half that, you are, watching over them. So it's,
And the way that I treat it, and I'm sure there's a ton of coaches out there that are doing the same thing, but the way that I kind of treat my teams and operations and everything is that, the way that I went through hockey was like, that was my escape from everything. There wasn't anything else going on in the world when I was at an ice rink or in the locker room or on the ice. And so for me, I try to make it so that this is the best part of all the kids' day, is coming to the rink, going, whether it's practice, whether it's a game. Like, we're gonna work hard, but we're gonna have a ton of fun, and I think that goes a long way into, one, having the players get that passion for the game and the love for the game, and then two, they're like, if you're having fun and doing, enjoying being there, you're gonna get better, and you're gonna want to work harder, and you're gonna want to get better at what you're doing. I think that's another thing that we as coaches can try to remember, is that it's, this is most practices are an hour and 10, whatever it is. Like, that's just, that's such a little part of their day, but it's the one thing that, most of these kids are looking forward to all day.
right. And obviously it takes a reminding every once in a while that it is just a game. And, and it's kind of what I was mentioning earlier of, there's times to push the buttons and there's times not to. And, if the team's skidding, you as a coach can adapt what you may have been thinking about doing for practice and be like, okay, look, we're having a bad time here. Let's regroup and maybe play some games and get the fun back in the game, and then go from there. Because, Jimmy, you and I have experienced it. There's been days, and we both love hockey. Obviously, we're still involved with it. We're trying to give back as much as we can. But there's been days where I don't want to go to the rink today, right? And every kid, every kid has that, and you don't know what's going on at home. And just realizing that, again, being as a coach, being a human, and realizing there's more to your role than just the tactics or working on power skating on the ice.
Yeah. Well, and that was, I mean, we both kind of went through it at the same time. And that was, I would get in my car and like, why? That was what honestly kickstarted my coaching career. Was I just got in my car and I realized if I continue to do this and I continue, you know, playing, I'm just not even gonna. I'm not gonna have the passion to want to be on the ice and coach anymore. So, I mean, that was kind of the aha moment for me to be like, all right, I'm done playing, and I was fortunate to be taken away by just because of a coach just not just a bad situation. But it's unfortunately you run into that, and I think that's where a lot of the good coaches in our game are kind of bred from learning from situations that they hated as players, and hoping to make a change and hoping to make a difference, and never have another player go through what they had to go through.
Right. And again, just using our past experiences, there's things that coaches have, done probably to both of us that, I catch myself almost doing, and then I'm like, well, I hated that as a player, so I'm not going to do it now. And it's like having that experience. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I complained about something my coach was doing, and now looking back on it, I'm like, no, I needed that, or it was good for me in that moment. But having that perspective of what it felt like, going through those certain situations, and being able to adapt, with the kids we're coaching today. I did have a quick question, and this may put you on the spot, Jimmy, because we didn't talk about it beforehand. But as a hockey director, are you also kind of in charge of bringing on coaches for all those teams you mentioned?
Yeah, yeah. So me and the assistant director are looking at coaches, hiring, and seeing, making sure we put coaches in the right spot. So they're the best fit for whatever team they're coaching.
Yeah, so I guess, and kind of to go with our, what to look for in a good coach, or this whole good coach umbrella that we're speaking about. From a hiring perspective, what are the some of the, I guess, main things are you looking for? Is it mostly experience? Is it what kind of person are they? Is this too
I
hard of a
think
question?
no, it's not at all. I've actually, I mean, I've been talking to a couple individuals, and there's one that stands out to me. We just brought him on to our club, and I've never met him before, other than just through this hiring process for him. Somebody mentioned, kind of introduced me to him, and we talked, and just talking to him on the phone over text, you can just tell how excited he is and how happy he is to be a part of this program, and how excited he is to get to coach these kids, and had no ego about him. He never once said, I don't want this team, it has to be this team. So I mean, that stood out to me a lot. And then obviously, you look at their history of where they coached, or their playing history. But to me, I think it's like I said. I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but like the passion just stands out so much that and I guess my other part is just a willingness to learn. Like I'm never gonna admit, or I'm never gonna say to anyone that I know everything. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to continue to learn. Like there's always things that I can learn about coaching. I mean, even watching NHL playoff games, like, okay, what system are they running? What is like, why do you make this change? Why do you do this? Like, it's little things like that it's the same thing that I think I might have said to you on one of the earlier podcasts I was on. Like, we tell our kids and players, you got to be students of the game. You have to learn the game. You have to watch the game. You have to study the game. It's the same thing for coaches. The game is changing every single day, and number one, attitudes and players are completely changing. There's definitely more of a attitude dynamic to it, where you have to know and understand your players a lot more than just coach coming in screaming at 20 guys. Like, that's just not just doesn't happen anymore. And honestly, it's probably a good thing, right? Like, we should get to know our players and understand, you know, what gets, like, how do we motivate them? What's a way that's going to kind of shut them down where they're not going to be motivated or not want to play, and kind of finding everything you can to help make this player a better player on and off the ice.
Yeah, and so obviously, I think you circled back to a lot of the passion aspect there. But I mean, to look at it from a couple different perspectives, as as a player, what makes a good coach? From a hiring standpoint, makes him a good coach. There's a bunch of different ways we can look at this, but we can kind of, I think, wrap up the good coaching, because I'm just kind of interested to hear. Just pick one. Not ask you to rattle off all of them or name names, but what is something from your playing career that you absolutely, it sticks out in your mind, that whether it be an example or an experience that you don't do as a coach from a personality standpoint that maybe you experience. And if you want me to give one first, I'll go ahead if you're thinking of one.
I mean, I wonder if you and I are thinking about the same thing. Oh gosh. I mean, I think the biggest thing to me is, I mean, this is just like, even when I saw it, I mean, we were playing college together not too long ago. It wasn't that, the game it wasn't like it was a different time completely, but I mean, that was,
You say
gosh,
it was 7 years ago.
I mean, honestly, the world wasn't much different 7 years ago. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
just COVID, whatever.
Just
Yeah.
depends on who you're talking to. But I mean, like, I never witnessed it up until that point, and even when I saw it in college, I I watched our coach just a completely call out a player, not for a play he made, but just attacking him and his, just personal attacks on a player, and that just, I just lost so much respect and for this individual. And like, that was, I wouldn't, I can't even think about a coach that would do that. Like, it's never once came across my mind that, like, it should never ever be a situation like that. So I mean, that to me was, it was disgusting, and just, like, I couldn't believe what was happening.
Yeah, and so that's the one extreme of, obviously as a coach you have to be able to uh, set standards and punish where needed, but obviously punish within reason. And I am in the same boat as you, where I don't I and maybe someone listening can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't, other than like a, hey, you need to back check harder in the next shift. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever gone in the locker room and called out one individual and basically told that player you sucked, which has happened to me. But it's finding the fine line of getting your message across without being an ass. Sorry for those G listeners, but just finding that line, and kind of what I was going to bring up is the 180 of that, of sure, it sucks to get yelled at, and I don't think it happens that much anymore for our younger ages, but to be completely shut out would be mine, of the I'm not playing, or I'm not playing in the positions that I want to play in, I'm not out on power play, whatever it may be, and not having any sort of feedback as to why that is happening. For me, when I coach, I have a high school team in Bantams and doing summer stuff. It's like, players, they're all individually different, and it's hard. It's really hard to do. But like with any team, whether it's, your work life or your home life or your athletics, it's like each one of those players is different, and you have to make an attempt to, let them know where they stand, or what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and just to leave a player, an individual in the dark, when they're not, they're visibly unhappy or whatever it may be. That's something I really try to avoid. So, just when my players walk in the rink, even if it's just like a, hi, as soon as they go in the locker room, just something to let them know, like, you're paying attention, that they're around. And keeping that line of communication open, as a player on your team.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
know it's hard. I mean, I know it's probably easier at the older levels for that, but I mean, even the younger levels, like, I mean, it's more so you're dealing with the parents, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I explain to them like I'm open for communication when it's obviously a civil conversation, or if we're we can talk about ice stuff like that. Um, but I'll always have a reason for anything that's done, or I'll always have we're doing this drill because of this, or your player sitting because of this. Like, it's never it's never a personal thing. It's never an attack. It's the only idea that I have behind anything that I do is to help the player and the team.
Yeah, and then for the players listening, you as a player always have the right to start that conversation as well. Of like, hey, why am I not playing? Why am I scratched? And like Jimmy just said, the coach should have an answer for you. And I've been in situations where there wasn't really an answer, and that's when it gets even more frustrating. So, um, but yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot of different aspects of what makes a good coach. The end there was kind of just more of a fun little exercise to figure out what we dislike the most. So appreciate answering that one. But before we move on to the last thing and talk about some playoff hockey, is there anything else you wanted to talk about coaching or your new position, Jimmy?
No, no, it's I like I said, I think you and I agree so much on a lot of this, and um, I would tell anyone, like, I think the best way to find really good coaches is what I found is honestly, like, get as soon as you're done playing, get into coaching. Like, just stay with the game. And I know it seems tough, or you're going into real life if you have a real job, like, or other stuff like that, or you finish college and you're looking for, like, do something in the game. Like, don't leave the game, because I think that's where you see so much of the passion that we're talking about is these younger coaches that get into it. I mean, I had an individual that the second he was done playing, I got him into coaching. He was an assistant for 1 year, and he's going on his third year as being a head coach on his own. And he's one of the best coaches I've worked with. Just because he cares. Like, and he started at a young age, but um, he matured, and parents could not really guess how old he was, just because of how he carries himself at the rink.
Yeah, and I mean I think we could talk a whole other podcast about how to get into coaching and why we got into coaching and things like that. But yeah, highly recommend if your playing career is coming to an end, is getting involved and keeping that passion alive, because hockey coaches are hard to come by, and there's always a need for them. And yeah, so well, Jimmy, I appreciate you talking about these things, and as far as coaching goes. But switching gears, obviously the NHL playoffs are going on. This episode is going to drop on the 24th, which I believe is this Friday.
Nice.
So with that in mind, I believe so. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd. I believe the Panthers Rangers are on deck first for tonight for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I actually had the opportunity to go see a Preds Vancouver game down here, and it was awesome. Just a little fun fact: I've been to 4 hockey games this year, and the team I was rooting for lost all 4 of them.
Stay hot.
Yeah, it's yeah. No gambling ads here coming from me. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and what you think of the playoffs so far, whether it be from an intensity standpoint, if you want to talk about a specific team, and then we can kind of give our picks for the 2 series and then the cup winner.
I mean, I'll be 100% honest. I was riding Vegas, so that was a disappointing situation for me to start the playoffs. But I,
The
uh,
the yeah, well, I almost said something that's set on spit and took. That's but the IR, what do you want to call it? Them breaking the rules.
there's no breaking rules. They're following the rules. They're doing everything by the book.
Yeah.
I think it is what it is. But You know what? I think for me, I just love. I know I know they don't have the depth, but I love watching Edmonton play. They play with speed, and also growing up, I was a Ducks fan, and Corey Perry was the man, and I still love the way that he plays. I love the antics that comes with him,
Yeah.
and so I mean that's the team that I'm going with for the end of this. I think they're gonna. I think the two big dogs and McDavid and Draisaitl are gonna take over um, and get it going, especially after being shut down the last series for the most part.
So for the Dallas Edmonton series, so another fun fact. So an NFL bracket. Some of the guys just put it on Instagram, and whoever comes up like a discount on a future per last play. Play. So how high I am on picking these, but it has stars are big. They got everything like from being they have a goalie. Edmonton has a goalie carousel. Sure, I think watch, but I just think the big boys for Dallas will take care of. So you have Edmonton coming out of that one.
I have Edmonton coming out of that one. We might have to do a bet offline here.
Okay. And then moving over to the Rangers and thoughts, Jimmy.
Oh, God, I honestly I like both teams. I think just from my time playing in New York, I have a lot of buddies that live in New York and are from New York, so I feel like I'm just rooting for them because I like when I like seeing those boys go nuts during games and get into it and bring out the heavy New York accents. So I also I think that I love Matthew Tkachuk. I love the nastiness to him, but I don't know. Something's telling me the Rangers are going to get that done.
So I'm going the other way again. I got the Panthers, but my betting and picks have been so cold. I just think
So I
Panthers,
should feel really confident.
You should feel really confident. I'm a mush, but Panthers just being that a little bit grittier. I mean, I think Panarin's having a really good playoff where he didn't last year. He kind of got away from the the same reason the Leafs don't do well. It's a lot of dipsy doos, and it's not playoff hockey. But I think it'll be a good series. But I think Panthers just got the little bit of more grittiness. Sam Bennett's a psycho, and I think it'll be good. But I got the Panthers coming out in that one.
We'll have to see what's going to happen here.
Well, and then also being a Flyers fan, we had Bobrovsky, back in his younger days, and Philly doesn't like to have a goalie on their team that can stop a puck. So I still try to root for him when I can. So we got the two opposites for both. But so who's your cup winner? I guess if you're thinking Rangers Edmonton.
I've gone back and forth. I'm riding with Edmonton. I had it like I took a long shot on them selfishly when they were in last place, and I think hopefully they can get the job done. That would be a nice ticket, but it was I don't know. I love it, and I think you remember I was scouted in London for 1 year and very, very short. But I got to actually watch like Bouchard when he was younger. And I mean, he's just a stud. Like he's got so good.
Got like 20 points, which is like the most for a defenseman in, however many games he's played so far. It's stupid.
And I think what was promising was that, some other guys got it done in the Vancouver series. I know McDavid wasn't usual McDavid, so at least that was promising. And, I'd love to see, I think for me, selfishly, the Corey Perry thing that, he's made it to so many cups and lost recently. I'd love to see him get the job done and get a win.
Yeah.
You know, and end his career. So that's kind of what
Terry's
I'm
got
looking
one,
towards.
doesn't he?
He's
Terry got
got
one with
one. He won one with Anaheim. I just want to see him get another one and hopefully ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, I don't.
I guess
It's hard to do it without a goalie. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm sticking with. I think it's going to be Western Conference winning the cup. I think it's going to be the Stars. They got the goaltending. He hasn't been extremely good yet, but he's doing the job. And just the kids they have on the team. Was it Wyatt Johnson just turned 21, I think, and I just think
there's a lot of guys on that team that I would be okay with if they won, like Pavelski and guys like that have never won. Jamie Benn, I wouldn't be upset if they won.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll make a little wager offline, and we'll see if I can pull myself out of the last place of my own league. And then we have a fantasy league that I always don't do well in either. But you're the worst in that one, so I feel better about that.
I was bad. We built it for the future. I have an all rookie team. We're gonna turn it around next season.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Yeah. All right. Well, so again, Jimmy, I appreciate you coming on. We're right around 40 minutes. I've released a couple, but you're the couple this summer. You're the first guest, so I'm sure people will be glad we got a longer episode, because when I talk to myself, I can only do it for like 12 minutes before I start to sound insane. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I think we'll definitely have you on in the future. Maybe talk about how to get into coaching and that process.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to anytime.
All right, Jim. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye.